The message is already typed. I'm sorry, I'm exhausted. Can we do another night? Their thumb hovers over send for a few seconds. Then they press it. Almost immediately, the tension leaves their shoulders. The evening opens in front of them. No crowded restaurant, no getting dressed, no small talk, no pretending to have more energy than they do. They change into old clothes, dim the lights, make something warm, and feel an emotion they rarely admit: relief. Not disappointment, not loneliness, relief. But here's the question they may not want to ask. Are they relieved because home is where they feel most alive, or because outside is where they feel least safe? People who love staying home are usually described in simple ways: introverted, quiet, comfortable, maybe boring. Society tends to treat a full social calendar as evidence of a full life. But an empty calendar can hide two completely opposite psychological realities. One person stays home because solitude restores them. Another stays home because leaving has become emotionally expensive. From the outside, both look exactly the same. The code lies in what happens inside them when the invitation appears. For some people, the outside world is not unpleasant. It is simply loud. A social evening may look effortless from the outside, while the nervous system is processing hundreds of small signals. The person is not necessarily afraid, they are working. Home removes most of that work. The lights remain where they left them. Silence does not need to be interpreted. No one suddenly changes the plan. No one asks why they are quiet. The environment stops demanding a performance. This is why home can feel less like a location and more like the only place where the nervous system is allowed to stop scanning. The central metaphor is a fortress. A fortress protects what is inside by controlling what can enter. Outside, life arrives without permission. At home, almost nothing happens unless the person allows it. That sense of control can create genuine peace. It can also become addictive. The first layer is temperament. Some minds naturally seek lower stimulation. They do not need constant activity to feel alive. A quiet room does not feel empty, it feels spacious. Their attention turns inward easily. Solitude gives ideas enough silence to develop. A crowded night out may produce excitement, but a quiet evening produces coherence. The person returns to themselves. This is not the absence of social ability. Many people who love staying home can be warm, funny, confident, and deeply engaged when they are with others. The difference appears afterward. The social event ends and their mind continues processing it. They need time with no new input before they feel like themselves again. The event may have been enjoyable and still exhausting. Pleasure and depletion can exist together. That is the first contradiction people often miss. Wanting to leave does not always mean the person disliked being there. Sometimes the nervous system has simply reached its limit before the relationship has. But not every homebody begins with temperament. Sometimes the preference is built through experience. A child grows up in an unpredictable environment. The child learns to read rooms before relaxing inside them. Later, they create a private environment where unpredictability is reduced. The event is an invitation or unfamiliar setting. The past experience is feeling exposed, overstimulated, embarrassed, or trapped. The internal belief becomes, outside, I have to be ready. The protective reaction is retreat. The external behavior is staying home. The person says, I just like my own space. That may be true, but the space is valuable partly because it contains fewer threats. This is how a preference can become a defense without the person noticing the moment it changed. At first, home is where they recover. Later, home becomes where they avoid needing recovery at all. Each cancellation produces immediate relief. That relief teaches the nervous system something. Avoiding the situation worked. So the next invitation feels heavier. The person is not becoming lazier. They are being trained by relief. This is the psychological chain beneath avoidant isolation. The event is social demand. The past experience is discomfort or rejection. The belief is that leaving home will cost more than it gives. The protective reaction is cancellation. The visible behavior is a peaceful evening alone. But the peace may be borrowed from a future that is becoming smaller. And here is the thought that changes the meaning of loving home. The difference between sanctuary and cage is not whether the door is closed. It is whether the person still feels free to open it. A sanctuary restores choice. A cage gradually removes it. The person in a sanctuary stays home because they want to. The person in a cage stays home because the outside has become psychologically larger than them. The world is experienced not as tiring, but as threatening. The behavior looks identical. The emotional structure is completely different. Genuine solitude tends to expand the inner world. Avoidant isolation gradually contracts the outer one. This distinction is uncomfortable because staying home can look healthy even while life is narrowing. But friendships begin depending on other people making all the effort. Invitations decrease because everyone expects another cancellation. The person interprets the silence as proof that people did not care enough. Yet the silence may be the social consequence of repeated retreat. The fortress protects them from rejection while creating the distance that feels like rejection. The defense produces the evidence it was designed to prevent. There is also a social role hidden inside many homebodies. They are often the person who feels responsible for making interactions comfortable. Others leave thinking the evening was easy. The homebody returns exhausted because they were quietly managing more than anyone saw. Home is not only where people stop speaking to them, it is where they stop managing how everyone feels. This can create resentment towards social life. They say people are draining, but sometimes the deeper issue is that they do not know how to be with people without becoming responsible for the entire atmosphere. The person may believe they are introverted when part of the depletion comes from hiding discomfort, suppressing opinions, and trying to appear easygoing. At home, no version of the self has to be edited. This is why certain small rituals become emotionally powerful. These rituals may look insignificant, but repetition tells the nervous system that nothing unexpected is coming. Familiarity lowers vigilance. The comfort show is not only entertainment. The person can experience emotion without uncertainty. In an unpredictable life, predictability becomes a form of rest. Social media complicates this experience by presenting public activity as proof of happiness. Even someone genuinely content at home can begin questioning that contentment. The comparison is unfair because public life is photographed more often than private satisfaction. A crowded evening creates visible evidence. A peaceful one often leaves no record. So society overestimates the happiness of stimulation and underestimates the value of calm. But the opposite mistake is equally dangerous. Home can become romanticized as proof of depth, intelligence, or emotional independence. I don't need all that noise. Sometimes this is self-knowledge. Sometimes it is a protective identity. If the outside world is dismissed as shallow, the person never has to admit that part of them feels unable to enter it. Contempt can disguise longing. The person mocks parties but feels hurt when no one invites them. The fortress becomes decorated with the language of independence, yet the person still listens for footsteps outside the gate. This is the midpoint reversal. People who love staying home are not necessarily choosing peace over performance. Some are performing peace because admitting loneliness would threaten the identity that protects them. They say, "I'm happiest alone." But happiness is not always the emotion beneath the routine. Sometimes the absence of pain is being mistaken for the presence of joy. The difference becomes visible after several days alone. Healthy solitude leaves the person clearer, more curious, and more willing to reconnect. Avoidant isolation leaves them heavier, more self-conscious, and less capable of returning. One restores social capacity, the other slowly erodes it. Home itself is not the answer. The psychological effect of home is. There is also a deeper relationship with control. Outside the house, the person cannot determine how others respond. At home, competence returns. This can be especially attractive to someone whose life feels uncertain in other areas. The home becomes a small kingdom where cause and effect still make sense. The person is no longer being evaluated. But control has a hidden cost. It also means fewer unexpected connections, discoveries, and experiences that could change the person. The fortress keeps danger out by using the same walls that keep possibility out. This does not mean the person needs a louder life. It means safety and aliveness are not always produced by the same conditions. One reduces uncertainty, the other occasionally requires it. Return to the canceled plan from the beginning. The message has been sent. The person is home. The lights are low. The food is warm. For the first hour, the relief is real. The world has stopped asking things from them. But later, they open the group chat. Their friends are laughing in a photograph. No one appears angry that they canceled. Life continued without them. A quiet feeling enters the room. Not regret exactly, more like the awareness of a door closing somewhere far away. They put the phone down and returned to the comfort show. Earlier, the room looked like freedom. Now it contains a question. Did they choose this evening, or did relief choose it for them? That is the hidden psychology of people who love staying home. Home can be where the nervous system recovers, creativity deepens, and the self becomes audible again. It can also be where fear learns to call itself peace. The couch, the quiet, and the canceled plans reveal almost nothing by themselves. The real code lies in what the solitude does next. Does it return the person to life with more energy? Or does it make life outside the door feel increasingly impossible? A fortress is not defined by its walls. It is defined by whether the person inside still remembers that the gate can open.